You get it, right? It's divorce. Staying with you is just boring. I was too stunned to speak. I had suspected he might be cheating. But I've never imagined I'd be handed divorce papers like this.
Why?
I prefer younger women to an old lady like you. That's all there is to it. There was nothing left to say after that. All I could muster was a simple thank you for everything. Then, I hugged Kyle tightly. I had had a hunch about Raymond's affair. So, I was ready to discuss divorce. But that was a conversation meant for just the two of us. Not in front of our child. Bringing his mistress home was utterly unacceptable. I reached my breaking point. If that's how he wanted it, I was prepared to fight back hard. It's too late for regrets now. Cry all you want when you've lost everything. I glared at Raymond sternly. My name is Yasmin Davis. I currently work at a furniture store. I've always loved interior design, so I have no major complaints about my job. I was fortunate in my personal life, getting married to Raymond at 31 and blessed with a son, Kyle. So, my life should have been smooth sailing. But that's not really the case. Because I have a significant problem. And Raymond is the cause. He runs the company where I work, but his management skills are somewhat lacking. To make matters worse, it seems he's recently started an affair. I wanted a happy family, but now, maybe it's better to divorce. After 13 years of marriage, at the age of 44, I am at a crossroads in my life. Although I'm considering divorce now, I never thought about it when we first married. In fact, I thought meeting Raymond was destiny. We met at the bank where I started working right after high school graduation. It was the middle of a recession, and being able to get a job straight out of high school was fortunate. Anyway, I was grateful for the employment and dedicated myself to my daily work. It was a few years into my job. Raymond first visited the bank. I need to discuss something about a company account. Yes, certainly. I responded as usual. It was in a business-like manner, without any particular emotion. However, for some reason, Raymond appreciated my handling of his request. Thank you for your help, Raymond said to me and left. He's strangely suave. I thought to myself at that moment. But just a few days later, on a Sunday, I ran into him again at a store I had casually stopped by. Wait, you are from the bank? Oh, the other day. Raymond looked uneasy. Did I do something wrong? No, I'm just here on a completely personal matter. I'm looking for a table for my home. Oh, is that so? Raymond said with a smile. His expression softened. From then on, he became quite talkative, sharing various details about the store's products. Normally, such attentiveness might have seemed annoying. But not at that time. I suppose it was because we both shared a love of interiors. As we talked more, I found myself drawn to him. Eventually, I began visiting the store every weekend, and before I knew it, I was married to Raymond. After the wedding, I quit my job at the bank to become a homemaker. Raymond's store carried only high-end items. He seemed to be doing well, and I assumed the business was flourishing. That's what I thought. However, soon after, I discovered a shocking truth. It happened a few months into our marriage. Raymond had asked me to visit the store to help organize the warehouse. But as soon as I entered, I gasped.
What is all this?
It's just stock.
Stock? This much?
The warehouse was filled with mountains of expensive imported furniture.
This isn't right.
Alarmed, I quickly checked the store's ledger. As expected, the business management was a mess. He had recklessly purchased luxury items. And many of them remained unsold, plunging the store into complete deficit. Looking back through the ledger, I saw that the deficit started about 2 years ago. Around the time Raymond took over the store from his late grandfather. His grandfather had managed it before Raymond. Raymond lacked managerial skills. Realizing this, I hurried to restructure the management. First, I convinced him to give up on selling the luxury furniture. We also revived the custom-made product sales.
We're dealing with custom orders again? That just takes more time with the customers.
Raymond grumbled, clearly bothered.
It takes time, but it's easier to turn a profit than stocking up on unsold luxury items.
But
For now, let's go back to the method that was working well for everyone until we can resolve these deficits.
of course, there's no guarantee it will work. But we live in a small town in the countryside. Many people have lived here since the time of Raymond's grandfather, and his old customers are still around. If we can win back those old customers. I continued to support Raymond with all my heart.
I was managing the store my way.
Despite his constant complaints, we managed to get the store back on track. However, it's not like we started making huge profits. Just enough to get out of the red.
We need to make the next move.
If I left it all to Raymond, his lax management would quickly lead to bankruptcy. It would surely leave the employees destitute and jeopardize our own livelihood as well. After much thought, I decided to use my experience from my banking days.
From today, I'll handle the store's administration. Leave all the back-end work to me.
What am I supposed to do then?
You're the CEO. You handle the customers. You're good at sales, so go excel at it.
Raymond has a way with words. So focusing on sales could really bring in results. This strategy paid off beautifully. Raymond started securing contracts one after another. We also began leasing out the luxury furniture that was just sitting in the warehouse. Combined with Raymond's sales efforts, our performance skyrocketed. And the store regained its former glory.
This should stabilize our management.
I thought we were finally secure. But then Raymond dropped a bombshell.
Business has picked up, so I think we should hire more staff.
I agreed with that. But the next moment, I was taken aback.
I think we should make my mom help the management. Your mother?
What, you got a problem with that? Raymond twisted his mouth. I hesitated. The store had been getting more foot traffic lately, and there were more requests for leases and custom orders. I had always thought about increasing the number of salespeople or sales representatives. I had assumed Raymond bought the same. I gently offered an alternative.
Why don't we increase the number of sales representatives? But Mom wants to help out at the store.
Raymond's father had passed away a long time ago. In other words, my mother-in-law lives alone. Whether she was bored or dazzled by our improved performance, she was not the right fit for our company. I tried to persuade her to give up the idea. But then, my pregnancy was confirmed. Seizing the opportunity, my mother-in-law approached me.
It's tough to work while you're pregnant, right? Let me work in your place just for that time. Do you have any work experience?
I'll be fine.
I worked before I got married.
How many years ago was that? I couldn't bring myself to say it. So reluctantly, I replied,
I'll do my best.
But my mother-in-law didn't seem amused by that. She started telling relatives and neighbors.
My daughter-in-law is so greedy. She's muscled her way into my son's business. It's really shameless.
Sure, money is important, but all I wanted was to fix the company's deficit problem. I wasn't working just because I wanted money. When I countered that, my mother-in-law responded.
Huh? Are you criticizing Raymond? No, that's not what I mean. A wife should support her husband, not speak out of turn. Just stay quiet.
Being spoken to like that left me speechless. As time went on, my due date approached. Eventually, I had to leave my job for maternity leave. It was inevitable then that my mother-in-law would step into the company. Though I had a lot to say, I chose to hold back. Some time later, I gave birth to Kyle. After a few years of raising him, I returned to work. But it was already too late. The management of the store had worsened during my absence. Of course, I did everything I could before taking a break from work. So, the revenue itself wasn't bad. The problem is with the financial statements. Despite consistently good sales, the financial results were the worst. The reason for this was none other than Raymond and his mother. They were spending excessively on expenses. It wasn't exactly embezzlement, but it was definitely a gray area in how they used the funds. When I suggested tightening up, his mother immediately started complaining.
Such a cheek from a daughter-in-law. This is a business, not a family matter.
Oh, is that so?
Well then, let me say this, a staff member shouldn't talk back to the manager.
I closed my mouth at her words. I am technically a director. So I'm not just a staff member. Say something, will you? I looked at Raymond.
Why are you getting so worked up? Are you tired from childcare?
That's right, because you don't help. I meant it as a sharp retort. But that seemed to hit a nerve with Raymond. He snapped back angrily.
What's with that tone? If it's so hard, just quit your job. What?
If I quit now, the company would definitely go under. For Kyle's sake, I couldn't let that happen. When I remained silent, Raymond laughed triumphantly. Then, with a smirk, he said,
If you don't like it, just shut up and do as I say.
All right. To protect the company, I had no choice but to continue working. I decided to quietly follow Raymond's lead. While Kyle was progressing into elementary school, he became less of a handful, which allowed me to concentrate on my work. However, the company's financial situation didn't improve. Of course, it's because of Raymond and his mother-in-law's wasteful spending. I also started to worry about Raymond's lack of involvement with Kyle. He wouldn't show up for Kyle's sports day or school events. And sometimes he wouldn't come home at all.
I wonder if he's cheating. There are so many problems,
I thought, but confronting Raymond never revealed the truth.
You know about the redevelopment happening downtown, right? I'm just working hard to get a new spot in the upcoming building. Does that mean you can't come home?
It's not weird.
I'm just that busy.
He would always deflect like that. One day after work, as I returned home, Kyle mentioned,
I'd really like a soccer ball for my birthday next week.
Right, you joined the soccer club. I'll make sure to tell your dad.
Do you think Dad will come shopping with me?
Kyle asked uncertainty. I reflexively patted his head. Don't worry. I'll make sure he finds the time.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if his anxiety was completely gone, but that was all I could do. After that, I reminded Raymond about Kyle's birthday every chance I got, both at home and at work.
Got it, you're being persistent. You do nothing usually, so at least take the day off for his birthday. It's a must.
Yeah. A trace of worry remained. For now, all I could do was trust Raymond. With anxiety still inside, I faced the day of Kyle's birthday. I took the day off to cook a feast for Kyle when I suddenly noticed Raymond was about to leave. Are you seriously going to work? I asked, and he just said, there's a surprise.
What?
Maybe he really did consider Kyle. Relieved, I sent Raymond off. Soon, everything was ready to celebrate Kyle's birthday. Raymond returned.
I'm home.
Raymond's cheerful voice could be heard.
What kind of surprise is it going to be?
Eager and nervous, I waited as he entered the living room.
Sorry to keep you waiting.
Here's the surprise. And there, beside him, stood a woman. She was wearing heavy makeup and holding a large shopping bag. I recognized her. Happy birthday, Kyle.
A present from your future mom,
the woman said, handing over the shopping bag to Kyle. Kyle seemed confused. I understood his feelings well. I too felt something was off with her words.
What do you mean by future mom, Natasha Johnson?
I addressed the woman in front of me, Natasha. She tilted her head in confusion.
Huh? It means just what it says.
Her feigned ignorance annoyed me. But then Raymond interrupted.
What's the problem? You still don't get it? What do you mean? Can you explain? That means Natasha is going to remarry me and become Kyle's mom.
With a slam, Raymond slapped the divorce papers on the table.
Then, he said, "You get it, right? It's divorce. Being with you is just boring." I was too astounded to speak. I had suspected he might be cheating. But I never imagined receiving divorce papers in this manner.
Why? I prefer a younger woman to an old lady like you. That's all there is to it.
That left me speechless. All I could say was just one thing. "Thank you for everything," I said to Raymond. Then I hugged Kyle. I had a suspicion about Raymond's infidelity. So, I was willing to discuss divorce. But that was a conversation meant for just the two of us. Not in front of our child. Bringing his mistress home was absolutely unacceptable. I reached my breaking point. If he wanted to play it that way, I was ready to fight back. It's too late for regrets now. Cry all you want when you've lost everything. I gave Raymond a stern look. I also glanced at Natasha. Then Natasha smirked and spoke.
"What's with that look?"
"Scary."
"Help me, Raymond." "Oh, are you okay?" "Sorry about the old lady I used to be married to."
Raymond comforted Natasha with exaggerated gestures. That only infuriated me more. But right now, caring for the shocked Kyle was my top priority.
"Kyle, are you okay?"
"Yeah."
"Let's go to Grandpa's house, okay?"
For now, I took Kyle to my father's place. The discussions would follow.
"I'll contact you once I've filed the divorce papers. We'll talk further, okay?"
I stated this unilaterally and took Kyle to his room. While calming him, I packed some of his clothes into a bag.
"I'm sorry, Kyle, that it's come to this."
I was determined not to hand Kyle over to that woman, and to my surprise, Kyle said something unexpected.
"I don't like Dad anyway." "But Mom, are you okay?"
Kyle looked at me worriedly. It was clear that he was shocked. But not about our divorce. I later learned that what really shook him was hearing Natasha say she would become his mother. At that moment, all I could think about was getting Kyle out of there. So we quickly left the house with just the essentials. We headed straight to my parents' house. After explaining everything, they kindly took us in. I left Kyle with my parents and went to a lawyer's office. There, I signed the divorce papers.
"Remember this, Raymond. You will pay for hurting Kyle."
I then went straight to work. It was a holiday, but the shop was open. Because holidays are our busiest times. I greeted the staff and went into the office, where my mother-in-law was present. With several employees around, I handed her my resignation letter.
"What's this?"
"It's my resignation notice." As I spoke, the office buzzed with whispers. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law coolly retorted.
"I saw Raymond leave with a young woman earlier. Did that lead to a divorce discussion by any chance?" "Yes, I've filed for divorce." "Oh, good. That means I won't have to deal with a nagging daughter-in-law anymore."
She snorted disdainfully. Facing her, I said,
"This means we're no longer related. Please make sure Raymond understands that."
"That's fine.
We won't be troubled by your absence."
Her words irritated me. But I refrained from responding and headed for the door. Suddenly, I noticed the employees seemed shaken. As I wondered why, Raymond entered.
"Mom, I'm getting divorced and remarried,"
he announced to his mother as he entered. That's when he noticed me.
"What are you doing here, Yasmin?" "I just came to drop off my resignation."
"Okay, this will clear things up." Raymond smirked. Natasha was also there. I glanced at Natasha briefly, then said to Raymond,
"Well, the loan repayments will be tough, but I guess you'll all manage somehow."
"Loan? What are you talking about?" Raymond looked puzzled. I sighed and responded,
"The company's loan. Essentially, it's a debt. Make sure you pay it back."
"Huh?
Was there such a thing?"
Raymond turned to look at an employee. He nodded slightly.
"It exists. And you didn't know, even as the CEO? You were supposed to handle the administrative stuff, weren't you?"
"That's right. I'll make sure to explain everything before I leave. I headed to my desk. I started up my computer and showed him a particular file. This is a list of the company's loans for operating capital, equipment expenses, and more. There's a lot. Raymond was shocked as he looked over the list. Then he raised his voice at me. What's with these amounts? Why did we take out so many loans? It couldn't be helped. You and your mother kept wasting money. Despite my warnings, the two of them never stopped squandering company funds. Realizing that this would put too much strain on our finances, I had temporarily taken out loans. I managed to slightly cut expenses without their notice and planned to repay the loans with profits. This was how I had been gradually improving our worst financial statements over several years. But all that ends today. From tomorrow, Raymond and his team will have to manage on their own. Moreover, now that I'm leaving, I have one more piece of bad news for them. About that loan, it's due for repayment this month. Huh? What do you mean? Why do we have to pay it all back at once? That's the agreement. Full repayment upon my departure. When seeking the loan, I consulted with the bank, but our financial statements were so poor. They said that while some loans were possible due to good sales, a large amount could not be approved. So, I thought about it. Whether to manage with a little loan or to set up a long-term repayment plan. Ultimately, I chose the latter. And, I managed to secure the loan for the company through my own contacts. Meaning, they lent the money based on their trust in me. So, if I'm gone, that assurance vanishes. That's why I arranged for immediate repayment if I quit. What kind of solution is that? It was the only way since you didn't reduce the wasteful expenses. I looked back and forth between Raymond and his mother. Both averted their gazes. There's no grace period for the loan, so if they demand repayment, you'll have to pay it immediately. What are we going to do? We're pouring funds into the downtown redevelopment project right now. I don't know. If you want to avoid bankruptcy, you'll just have to pay it back. What the? Raymond collapsed. Glancing at his mother, she looked bewildered. Seeing their pathetic state was almost amusing, so I continued tauntingly. Well, pay it back before you get any external management interference. Interference in management? If you don't repay the loan, that might happen. Like changing the CEO, for instance. I gave a mock laugh. Then, Raymond started to tremble. I left them there and walked out of the office. Natasha was by the entrance, watching me the whole time. I returned her gaze with a smile. As we passed by each other, Natasha muttered. You wicked woman! That was you who was cheating, wasn't it? I thought that but didn't say it aloud. In any case, there was no turning back now. I hoped he would struggle financially. I thought that would happen, but it didn't. Apparently, Raymond had managed to secure funds from somewhere. The lender informed me that the full amount had been repaid. Well then, I'll just have to make my next move. I muttered, plotting my next act of revenge. A few days later, I went to Raymond's house to pick up some of my belongings. Even though I had belongings there, along with Kyle's, I couldn't just enter the house without permission since we were divorced. So, I had called ahead, expecting to be watched. But something was off. Because he was waiting outside at the entrance. Why are you waiting outside? I wanted to ask you something. Ask me what? As I asked back, Raymond continued with an annoyed look. Ever since you left, our clients have been decreasing rapidly. It seems our lease contracts have been cancelled one after another since I left the company. Moreover, the number of custom order clients has dropped, and contracts that were being negotiated have been scrapped. Oh, really? Maybe the problem is with you, not me. Needless to say, I knew why. But it irritated me to just tell him that for free. So, I made a sarcastic comment instead. That suddenly made Raymond angry. Don't play dumb. This is what you're doing, isn't it? On what basis are you saying that? Our employees said it. They said all our current clients are your acquaintances.
It turns out the employees understand the company's situation better than Raymond does. Indeed, many of our current clients are my acquaintances. But they are not just simple acquaintances. Many were introduced to me as clients by my uncle on my mother's side, who is in business. So, it's less that I secured the contracts with my connections, and more so through my uncles. Naturally, my relationship with them is superficial, so if I'm gone, it's almost as if they have no connection at all. Obviously, if the company were conducting good business, they would continue relations as clients. But Raymond not only lacks managerial skills but also mixes personal matters into business, like appointing his mother as an officer. It's no wonder there's uncertainty about the future of the company. That's likely why deals are falling apart. Too bad, isn't it?
Don't joke around. You must be saying unnecessary things, right?
I'm sorry, but I just left the company.
If contracts are being cancelled, maybe it's because of incompetence?
At my words, Raymond was at a loss for words. He looked at me with frustration, and I continued. It's misguided to blame me. Everything that's happening is the result of seeds you sowed.
That's not true.
It is true. You are the business manager. You cheated. You are the one who discarded me. Maybe now he realizes just how much he relied on me. However, understanding this now won't bring back what's been lost. I snorted dismissively, and Raymond, tears in his eyes, bit his lip. I slipped past him into the house. And I packed up my and Kyle's belongings. Just as I finished and called the movers, Raymond muttered.
Fine. I'll make a comeback with the downtown redevelopment. Don't come crying to me when I'm successful again.
With that, Raymond pushed me out of the house and slammed the door shut.
Idiot. As if I'd give you the chance to turn things around.
If I'm going to do it, I'll do it thoroughly. I will never forgive Raymond and his actions. They did enough to deserve it. I will push them as hard as I can. With these thoughts, I turned my back on Raymond's house. However, what Raymond plans to do next to save his company? Understanding his next moves is a big advantage for me. I should move accordingly.
Time to play my trump card.
I decided and made a phone call. A few weeks later, I was visiting a local company with my new boss. A lot has happened around me in these weeks. First, I had demanded child support from Raymond. Raymond grumbled but agreed to pay the amount I had demanded. On the other hand, Natasha initially disagreed with him to pay child support, but she changed her tune as soon as I mentioned going to court. Apparently, Natasha's father decided that going to court would be problematic. Upon further investigation, it turned out that her father owned a real estate business. He seemed concerned about being perceived as having issues related to the downtown redevelopment project. This redevelopment project is one of the larger public works. It represents a significant profit opportunity, which probably couldn't be ignored.
I'll get married to Raymond,
Natasha demanded of me. But that was irrelevant to me. Do whatever you want, I retorted, and Natasha smirked triumphantly. After resolving the divorce issues, I started anew with a new job. Today, I had my first task of visiting an office. However, I unexpectedly ran into someone there.
What? Why is Yasmin here?
Raymond? I bumped into Raymond at the reception of the company we were visiting. Natasha was also there beside him. I averted my gaze discreetly. But it was too late for subtleties once we had recognized each other. Raymond approached me aggressively and began.
What, still trying to interfere?
That's. Of course, I hadn't intended to interfere, but running into each other was unexpected. This could cause inconvenience to our visit. And to my boss as well. Confused about what to do next, Raymond started to complain.
Why would a woman like you be here anyway?
It's for work. I hesitated. But Raymond wouldn't even let that slide. Work?
This is the real estate company that will manage the new building in the upcoming downtown redevelopment.
I know that.
And it's a major player in the real estate industry. What would be the point of you coming to one of its branches?
Raymond laughed mockingly, with Natasha joining in beside him. Irritated, I shot back.
Isn't that the same for you? You're out of place here. Out of place? Our company is the biggest leasing company around here, you know?
The new building will house a hotel and commercial facilities. Naturally, they will need a lot of furniture. And Raymond's company is probably the only one that can supply them. Natasha boasted about this with confidence. That might have been true before. But just as I was pondering this, my boss interjected.
Nice to meet you. You're her ex-husband, right? I couldn't attend her wedding, so I hadn't greeted you yet. Who are you? I'm Williams, her boss. Well, I'm also her uncle.
At my uncle's introduction, Raymond's face changed color. Staring intently at my uncle, Raymond muttered.
Williams, as in the famous interior company. Yes, we do interior work, including fixtures and furniture installation.
In fact, my uncle's business involves interior work. This includes painting, plastering, and wallpapering, among other tasks. In addition to this, his company also handles furniture construction, which involves making built-in furniture. His company has furniture craftsmen on staff. Of course, having many acquaintances among general furniture craftsmen helps in selecting furniture that matches the interior design.
That's why my uncle's company also deals with domestic furniture. So, are our goals the same then?
Raymond hesitantly asked. I smiled slyly and nodded.
In a broad sense, yes. But we've also taken on interior construction. Wait a minute! Williams' company isn't around here.
I understood what Raymond was trying to say. Actually, my uncle's company isn't local. It's based right in the heart of a major city, not in the region we live in. That would normally make it unusual for them to take on this job. Raymond probably wanted to point that out. But there was a reason for it.
My dear niece was divorced, and she came to me wanting revenge on her ex.
My uncle explained, causing Raymond to turn pale. Continuing, my uncle added.
We were actually planning to open a branch here much earlier. But since my niece would be competing against her husband's company.
In other words, my uncle's company overlaps with Raymond's company in terms of business, albeit partially. They both deal with furniture. However, aside from that, they operate in completely different industries. However, I was worried about one aspect. My uncle's company is fairly well known. On the other hand, Raymond's company is only known locally. I thought that if my uncle opened a branch, it might take customers away from Raymond. So, I made a proposal to my uncle.
Instead of your company providing the furniture, let Raymond's company do it.
In essence, I managed to have my uncle's company recognized as a local firm with established connections. Thanks to the reputation of my uncle's company, securing initial contracts was straightforward. That's how I boosted Raymond's company's credibility and helped restore its performance. Later, I continued to hold off on my uncle's company's expansion. By doing so, I was protecting Raymond's company. But, after Raymond's infidelity and our divorce, I no longer saw any reason to protect his business. That's why I encouraged my uncle to expand here, and I got employed by his company. Of course, since our industries are different, it's unclear if it would affect Raymond's business. Yet, it might thwart Raymond's plan to make a big comeback with the downtown redevelopment. I thought the damage would be minor, but it turned out to be significant. Hearing the details from me, Raymond just crumbled right there. And then, he started crying on the spot.
It's all over now!
Embarrassed by the scene, I quickly left with my uncle. Soon after, Raymond's company went bankrupt. Apparently, he had been spreading money around, hoping to leverage the redevelopment project. And he had been secretly moving funds to unauthorized persons. All of it went to waste, and the inability to recover the funds led to the bankruptcy. Furthermore, it was revealed that he had been borrowing heavily to repay the company's loans, which turned out to be his personal debts. Raymond is now facing a significant amount of debt repayment. Interestingly, Raymond has started working as a construction worker on the redevelopment site to pay off his debts. His mother is working alongside him, and they plan to support each other in repaying their debts. However, Natasha, who remarried Raymond, claims she was deceived and is quarreling with him. She's already preparing for divorce mediation, so it seems Natasha isn't planning to support him. Natasha's situation is also precarious. In the end, it seems everyone has hit rock bottom. In contrast to the misfortune of Raymond and his family, I am leading a happy life. My job at my uncle's company is going well. Kyle seems to be becoming a better child. One day, as Kyle was preparing to go to school, I asked him curiously,
Kyle, aren't you shocked about your father?
"Why suddenly ask? Planning to remarry?" "That's not it. But if he's not shocked, that's fine with me. Because right now, Kyle is everything to me. For Kyle, I'll keep doing my best," I murmured as we left the house together.